The information, the best information and the best assessment we have today is that, in fact, this was not a pre-planned, premeditated attack. That what happened initially was that it was a spontaneous reaction to what had just transpired in Cairo as a consequence of the video, that people gathered outside the embassy, and then it grew very violent. Those with extremist ties joined the fray and came with heavy weapons, which unfortunately are quite common in post-revolutionary Libya, and that then spun out of control. But we don't see at this point signs that this was a coordinated, planned, premeditated attack. Obviously, we'll wait for the results of the investigation.
As an FBI agent, I get to look at all of that. I come to a different conclusion. They are only moderately confident that it was a spontaneous event, and it's because there's huge gaps in what we know. The way that the attack took place, I have serious questions. It seemed to be a military style, coordinated. They had indirect fire, coordinated with direct fire, rocket attacks. They were able to launch 2 different separate attacks on locations there near the consulate, and they repelled a fairly significant Libyan force that came to rescue the embassy. And then it was on 9/11, and there's other information, classified information that we have that just makes you stop for a minute and pause. And as the first thing you learn as a young FBI agent is there are coincidences, but they're not likely. And there are a lot of coincidences about this event. Do I believe that people did show up that had weapons and joined the effort? Probably I do. But I think, to me, when you look at all of the information across both departments, I'm just suspect that they could come to that conclusion so assuredly that it was a spontaneous effort given the coordination of it.
Their investigation into those attacks leaving many with more questions than answers, including whether the raid against the U.S. consulate was a spontaneous reaction or a premeditated act of violence. Leland Vittert is live in Cairo, Egypt, with more. Leland?
Greg, it seems right now it's the U.S. government's position from the Obama administration that this was a spontaneous protest at the Benghazi consulate that somehow got out of hand and turned into this attack that ended up killing those 4 Americans, including the U.S. ambassador. But we're learning new information from the Libyans, actually. The Libyan president, in an interview, alluded to the fact that he thought that there's a real possibility that al-Qaeda or a syndicate group was behind these attacks and that they were very much pre-planned and premeditated. He pointed to a couple of points. Number one, that it happened on 9/11. The significance of that date cannot be overlooked. Number two, it was a well-coordinated attack. The attackers were well armed in the way that they moved and fired with direct fire and indirect fire indicated that this wasn't just a bunch of people who showed up at a building for a protest. And the last thing is something that's pretty new. We have not heard about this safe house that the Benghazi consulate was using. And not only did the attackers attack the consulate, they then followed up with an attack at the safe house, and that, to the Libyan president at least, points to the fact that there was some significant planning that went into this attack and not that it was some kind of just spontaneous, off-the-cuff thing that happened in response to this video. Greg?